Hello everybody and welcome to the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge live in sound and vision from beautiful WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. What a part of the world this is. Up through Highway 1, the scenery is stunning. Look to drive, well, it depends which way you're going, of course. If you look one way, you look into the ocean. You look the other way, you've got the fantastic rolling countryside that runs down to the Pacific. We're just outside Salinas and kind of between Salinas and Monterey on the Monterey Peninsula on a circuit that really should need no introduction. The names of the corners tell you everything you need to know here. We've got Rainey for two wheels, we've got Rahal, we've got Andretti, and turn 8 and 8A. Well, of course we don't call them that, it's the corkscrew. And anyone who's ever picked up a platform game or done iRacing or any racing games knows that this is a challenging circuit. From the tight confines of turn 2 to climbing the hill turns 4, 5 and 6, then down through the corkscrew and back round to the bottom of the circuit. A phenomenal entry at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca 120 for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Hello to those of you at the track and further afield. 45 cars, 14 in the front wheel drive TCR touring car class, 31 in the GS class, which is Global GT4 homologation. John Hindhoff and Ryan Marine in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Arjuna Kankapati is on pit road. Let's go down there now. The first thing I need to know, Arjuna, is that everybody has got off the pit road.
I love to be the bringer of great news, John. All our cars rolling off a pit lane here on what is a rather cloudy day at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Yesterday on Fast Friday, as we worked our way through practice into qualifying, the temperature started to rise, and I think a lot of teams and drivers would have been basing their plans for today on that very different track temperature and air temperature that we're dealing with. Let's talk about quickly some of the storylines, starting back in TCR. Mason Filippi, on one hand, must be feeling a bit disappointed. He was expecting to race tomorrow with DXDT, but an unfortunate fire for them has seen them withdraw from the weekend. However, put that disappointment aside, he's put that Hyundai for Brian Herter Autosport on pole position and is looking to try and fight off the Hondas and the Cupras starting further behind. A slight mix-up in the balance of performance there. Jumping up to the front of the GT4 field, once more Nate Cicero for the 5th time in 8 races is starting on pole position in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, but the fight's going to come from 3 Toyota Supras that are lined up behind, and then the best of the BMWs. One of our NorCal-based teams, Carbon with Peregrine, their headquarters up there in San Francisco, hoping to win this race for the first time since 2020, John.
Overcast, the marine layer hasn't really burned off today. Air temperature 57, 58 Fahrenheit, that's 15 Celsius, pretty chilly actually. Track temperature 81, 82, that's around about 28, 29 Celsius. Nicely in the window though for the Michelins. Pretty sticky out there, humidity at 75%. It's almost like being in a warm shower. Well, if it was warm. So at the front of the field, Macumbi, Macaleer Racing's Ford Mustang with Nate Cicero, Ford Cook for Cook Cookland Motorsport for the first of the Toyotas, and then that second row, which is all Toyota, Rafa Racing, Varun Chokski, and the BSI Racing, Lucas Weisenberg. Then behind them, BMW Carbon, that's Sean McAllister, Caio Chavez for Pan Am. The third Toyota GR Super GT4 Evo in the top 6, I think half the top 6. By far the best showing that we've had from that front engine rear wheel drive Toyota. Then it's the best of the Aston Martins. It's Van der Steur Racing, Alan Patton in 7th, and the top 10 made up by Dylan McAvern for Turner BMW, Paul Holton for Ford Mustang and Team TGM, and Winwood Racing's Bryce Ward. As Arjuna rightly said, it's a bit of a mix-up at the front. Hyundai, yes. Brian Herter Motorsport, Mason Filippi, kind of expect him to be right in the mix and in the conversation at the front. Honda Civic, Montreal Motorsport Group, LP Monto, well, he's been there as well. How about Rocco Pasquarella in the number 5 KMW Motorsports Honda Civic, with the Hyundai of Landsbergstein alongside. Stallion Motorsports with Go have their Cupra alongside Franco Girolami for Victor Gonzalez Racing, an all Cupra third row. Nice and tight at the front of the field. The dark blue and black Mustang of Cumbie McAleer Racing trying to give a little bit of aggro even before we got there. There's a bit of intimidation going on, a few mind games going on at the front of the field. 31 GS cars, and we are green, and we are racing for the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca 120 in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. The pole sitter streaks away. Nate Cicero picks his line in the first corner. Ford Koch can't do that because he's got a car right up his inside. It's another one of the Supras. Varan Choksky. Choksy is alongside in the Rafa Racing, the lighter colour car. Here comes Carbon, and there's a touch between Carbon and Caio Chavez in the Pan Am Motorsport bright orange machine. And the Carbon car right on the edge of the curb at turn 4. Fortunately, it's not as soft as it has been in recent years, and that car is pointing in the right direction. Ryan Marine with me, John Hindorf, in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Exactly what the local team, the guys from San Francisco area, did not need. Sean McAllister, the fight back starts right now.
Oh, that's so frustrating for Sean John, and just to look at it here, this is first lap stuff. Everyone's side by side fighting for position. Hard to, I need to see it again, but it was a late lunge for sure from the Supra, not fully alongside, maybe a bit opportunistic. End result is really a difficult start for the BMW group.
We're getting reports, and Aaron is our producer again. BMW right-hand side door flapping. I think it was the 27 Autotechnica Austin Krein's car? 37, excuse me. That is the Steve Wetterau Carbon Paragraph, so that's the other Carbon car. So we'll keep an eye on that through the left-handers in case that is the case. Hey, no problem for Nate Cicero, who has streaked away at the front of the field, and you could not have got a more picture-perfect start. Pick your start, please. Well, if you'd asked Nate Cicero and Robert Noack, his teammate, what would you like? He'd have said, well, about 1.5 seconds at the end of the first lap will do very nicely. Meantime, in TCR, it's the usual street fight from the front-wheel drive cars as they go to battle early. And at the front of the field, it's Hyundai from Honda. In fact, from Honda ×2 in that particular fight as they continue their battles around the circuit. And that's Mason Filippi, who has held on to the lead in the white and multicoloured car. KMG in second have gone up one position, so that means LP Monto for MMG has gone down a position. Other than that little touch though, Ryan, the good news is, with the twittering of the wastegates on the turbocharged cars, it's been a decent start. Caio Chavez getting the penalty for contact, pretty much a slam dunk, and race control not needing to take too long to make the decision there.
Yeah, I think that's right, having seen it a couple of times there as we were going through the replay. First blush, I thought, maybe a racing incident, but oh my goodness, full course yellow.
Car on its roof, and that is at turn 2, down at the Andretti hairpin, and it's one of the GS cars. I think it's the 67. It is the 67. I was trying to read upside down. See the flat floor on that car. So that was a car in the heat of the battle at the front. BSI Racing, Lucas Weisenberg crossed the line in 4th position. Ford F-150 Raptors and the AMR safety team already at the wreck. Talking to the driver, the car is absolutely upside down on its roof, but the safety systems have worked. And it's not the 79, it is the 67. It is upside down. The door has opened. That's the good news. And clearly talking to the driver, Ford F-150 Raptor, the official truck of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And they've been doing yeoman's work this week, ferrying people up and down to the corkscrew and giving them some off-road experience. Hello to Citrus, who's tuned in at IMSA Radio, by the way, if you want to get in touch, to Merv, to Alan Prosser as well, Lee Jordan watching us, rather than other motor racing series that may not have fenders. Never thought he'd say that, says Lee. Thank you. Thank you for making that choice. All motor racing is good motor racing. The rising tide floats all boats. We never talk about which one's better than the other, but we are pleased that you've chosen us, to be brutally honest. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch. Driver is reported as talking to the safety team and is moving around. The problem is now, Ryan, well, I'm going to ask you a question here. This is the second car that's gone over today. The first one was in Mustang Challenge and landed back on its wheels. Michael Tasser was able to get out himself. Have you ever been upside down in a car, either a race car or a road car?
Thankfully, no, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Well, I have. The first time was deliberate because I was in an Audi A6 that was on a rig that spun you over, and I was being taught to get out of an upturned car. Because there are ways to do it so you don't hurt yourself. Because just unloosening the seatbelt can make you drop on to what is the roof, which is then below you, and you can actually do yourself a decent amount of damage with that. So I was taught to do that at an Audi drive day many, many years ago at Alton Park in the northwest of England. It was a track day for road-based cars mostly. And they had this car basically on a spit, the kind of thing that you would paint a car with. And just underlining, by the way, the 37 BMW is indeed opening and closing Steve Wetterau's right-hand side, the passenger side door. So I was taught how to do it, brace your feet on the floor, etc., etc. Now that was good training that you hope you're never going to use. It's like an insurance policy, isn't it? You buy your insurance policy, you hope you never have to speak to them. Not because they're not necessarily nice people, it's just that means something's gone wrong. So, unfortunately, in an XJ40 4-litre straight 6 Jaguar that I owned many years ago, my first of a couple of Jags that I owned, I had a right rear puncture when I was going around a fast left-hander, got into a tank slapper, thought I'd got it back, hit a curb, and ended up on my roof. So I did actually have to use what I'd learned, and actually the roof didn't stay in as good a condition and a structural integrity as what we've seen with Steve Wetterau's BMW. So I actually had to get out of the back window of the car. Steve Wetterau, by the way, has come into the pit lane and had the pit lane crew slam the door properly. He's done that under full course yellow, so he's lost a 20th position. He'll drop down to the back of the GS field, but he'll get that back once we go to split the field. So you might wonder, why did the EMR safety team not get Steve out of the car? The answer is he was safe in his harness, his hands device and his racing seat. So they've brought the car back with the help of a teleloader onto an inflatable bag, which they then gradually deflate and put the car back onto its wheels. Then they can continue to assess Steve's condition and let him undo. In fact, they didn't have to. He undid the safety belt on his own and says, no, honestly, I'm fine. Gets a pat on the back from the AMR safety team. That is great, great teamwork. Just went straight on at the Andretti hairpin, and it was the most innocuous of offs, but he just hit the barrier, the tyre wall at slightly the wrong angle. Ryan ran up on it and gently flipped onto his roof. I know exactly how he feels.
Well, if there is such a thing as a gentle flip, I suppose that's it for Lucas Weisenberg from Orange, California, not too terribly far away. So effectively the lone home race of the season for Lucas. Last year, 5th in Toyota GR Cup competition, 5th the year before that as well, making the step up to GT4 this year and doing it with this BSI Racing team. This is a team that really doesn't need another setback, John. We've talked some already this weekend about the fact for the WeatherTech Championship that DXDT had the truck fire, so they won't be racing in the WeatherTech Championship. Well, just over a week ago, BSI had a similar issue heading down to Circuit of the Americas for a GR Cup race, and thankfully that didn't affect their ability to go racing later in the weekend, but that team's had enough ups and downs, and unfortunately just added another one to that list with Lucas Weisenberg's incident.
Hello to Moni Elysium, who with the hubby. You're just the hubby now. You're just the hubby now. I'm giggling at that. Tuned in while doing housework. Hello to Sebring 12-hour fan. Nice of the Liberty Media Formula One to stagger the start time of Carrera Cup race from Miami, so that Ryan had enough time to move from one part of the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre to the other. And Elliot Lindemood, who's tuned in from the high desert of California. Wish I was there, but life happens. He says Hindy has the best driving stories. I've been driving for a very, very long time. Only just missed the man with the red flag in front of me at the moment. No, not quite. Billy, I can't believe Moni's just calling you hubby now. Let's go down to our BDO pit lane reporter, and that is, of course, Arjuna Kankapati, who is with us for a bit of a strategy update.
I also had a quick chat with Harrison Goodman, the other half of the BSI Toyota lineup. He confirmed that Lucas was on the radio the entire time. Just frustration, because not only did they have that fire, but they had a really good car after being tangled up in this lap 1 incident at Sebring just a handful of weeks ago. To talk strategy though, John, I think this safety car period, especially the length of the safety car period, is almost going to guarantee that this becomes a one-stop race. I was talking to some of our teams and drivers who said a one-stop race, even without a caution, was going to be their thought. 54 minutes was the magic number that I heard. Both for GS and TCR. We're extending that right now as we continue to tick away these laps and minutes.
I'm impressed with that for GS, Arjuna, but that is a bit of a surprise for me, because there's so much full throttle running around here. But he's had his truth serum out, so absolutely believe that. Ryan Marine, how strong is that Supra? It has literally been on its roof, and it looks like if they pulled off the front splitter, that car could go back out and race again. I can't even see a scratch. Both the doors opened. There's no cracks in the windscreen or the rear screen. That's absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, for a car that's been upside down, I have to say, it still looks like it could be not too terribly far from fighting condition. If I hadn't seen the replay and I was just looking at the car sitting there, you certainly wouldn't have guessed that it had gone for such a tumble just a few moments ago. But I think, to Arjuna's point, it is so difficult when you know you've got a fast car and you don't have a chance to show it. This car's been quick this weekend. It was at Sebring before being eliminated early, and you just look at this group as one that needs a break, right? 19th and 13th in the first 2 races, and they won't do any better than that here today. What do you got to do to get on the right side of Lady Fortune? Sometimes you just have to scratch your head.
Well, all you can do, and sometimes it doesn't work like this, but all you can do is hope that if you'll get the racing gods giving you a little bit of payback at some stage in the future, and that's about all you can hope. There is not a scratch on the driver's side of that car. Take the pictures from that side if you're going to put it on Bring a Trailer for next week. Hello to Ryan Hoover Transportation, who is in the pit box of CSM's Porsche. Gordon Scully sitting in 17th position in the GS. That's the number 2 car. Ryan, one of our regulars, wherever you're tuning in for, listening on RS2 if you're travelling around. We don't want you watching pictures if you're travelling around in the car, just the audio, if you don't mind. If you are watching, it's a very warm welcome along. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Pacific, I suppose you call it Pacific summertime now, just on 9 o'clock in the UK, 10 o'clock in Central European summertime. Nice time to be watching motor racing. And don't forget, straight after this, we have qualifying for those of you in the States in sound and vision, as well as everybody else. Qualifying 3 15-minute sessions for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Let's take the opportunity to speak to some of the drivers. The Go Racing cars running a fabulous throwback livery. He's Eddie Go with Arjuna.
And a throwback to someone who actually raced in 2 IMSA races going on 40, 50 years ago. I'm here with son, Eddie Go, right now. Eddie, what a wonderful car, what a wonderful team you have. Talk to me about what it means to be able to represent your family this weekend.
Well, it's really exciting. My grandfather, like you mentioned, he raced in the 70s and 80s in IMSA. I think he would have loved to have seen his livery brought back and racing in the highest level of endurance racing in the US. So it's just an honor to be running his livery. I think it's also great for my dad to be able to be racing the same livery he raced once with his father a while back. So it's now 3 generations racing with that livery, and 3 Eduardo Goes racing. So that's pretty amazing.
What are you looking at in terms of today's race? The Stallion and Go lineup, you've got a Cupra, you've got an Audi, so I'm always confused what it's like trying to balance those 2 manufacturers. How much data can you share between you and the sister car?
Well, like you guys know, at the beginning of the year, we started with the Cupra. Unfortunately, with an incident that we had to switch to Audi. And, well, it's a similar drivetrain in the form that you have a similar engine, a similar transmission, but it's not the same car. So while you can share data, it's like sharing data between different manufacturers. So it's not the same thing, but we definitely help each other out in terms of driving, not so much in terms of car and setup.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's a great story, absolutely great, and what the throwback weekend is all about. Absolutely brilliant recovery. A number of people, including Dave Alcock, saying inverted vehicle recovery from the AMR safety team, calm, efficient, a textbook demonstration. As we go back to green flag racing, and Nate Cicero gets on the throttle of the Ford Mustang GT4 and jumps away from the bright orange and white Ford Cook in the Cook Copeland Toyota. Then it's Rafa Racing, Varun Choksi, and everyone starts as they ran through there in restart order, starting line astern, of course. In TCR, Mason Filippi and Rocco Pasquarella managed to get ahead, and we've still got a problem for the BMW of Carbon. They entered a closed pit, but I don't think that will get them a penalty. They're back in for that the passenger side door. They came in closed pit, but that was kind of like emergency service, wasn't it? Because the door was flapping around a bit. So Cicero leading out. Let's see if we can get into a bit of a rhythm here. Biggest mover at the moment, Moise Uretsky, started rather further down in the McLaren Artura from Ibiza Farm Motorsport than he would have liked. Ryan Marine, they are up 5 spots and now sit inside the top 10. That's ominous for the rest of the field. That's a quick car.
Exactly, and what we've seen over the years is if Moise can put that car in the top 5 during his stint, Michael Cooper can take it to the front. That's what they did at Sebring to get the win, bounce back from a really disappointing outing at Daytona. Speaking of disappointment, I think something's gone awry for Team TGM and their 46 entry. Paul Holton came to the pit lane as the field was coming to the restart, and it's been there for quite a while now. So I'm afraid something might be going sideways for that team in that entry.
Arjuna was standing by. Of course he was. He has that innate 6th sense of a good pit reporter. Let's take a BDO pit lane report. What's going on at TGM, Arjuna?
Well, I think they topped it off on fuel, but that was not the priority, John. They pop the hood and we're taking a very close look at the engine. So for a team that switched manufacturers over to the Ford Mustang, maybe just getting to grips with some of those systems right now, and they continue just to work through it. I'll see if I can get the ultimate reason for why they have been stationary for quite a while. Can tell you that the hood has at least been closed, but the driver's door is still open, and the crew members are trying to help the driver get something sorted.
Whilst Arjuna was talking, Hunter Yaney took Medusa Motorsports Vantage up a position, going by Austin Kreitz in the Autotechnica BMW. And, oh my goodness, 3 wide going into, that's turn 5. And down the inside, it's another one of the Carbon cars that I think precipitated that. That was the 39 Carbon, yes it was. And also involved there Christine Schloss in the Vantage racing car, so that would have been Sean McAllister, but there were 3 wide going through turn 5. There's another car on the outside. Christine is pointing in the right direction in that very lovely yellow and green Aston, which just crosses the line now and heads down to the hairpin area. This is a bit feisty early on in the race, Ryan. We often see this in IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Let's hope they settle down as the battles continue through the field with the number 54, as I am hearing that it's going to be a drive. Team TGM going behind the wall. That is the 46 Mustang, and it will be a penalty for Sean McAllister for that contact with Christine. Somewhat feisty early on, Ryan Marine.
Well, to that end, the third car in that 3 wide situation was Caio Chavez, who had spun McAllister earlier and been penalized for it. That yellow actually was great news for them, for Pan Am, and it brought them right back up to the pack. But because he was spun around, McAllister was deep in the pack, was trying to come back up through the field, clipped Christine Schloss, and now he himself will have a penalty. So it goes from bad to worse, and he makes that left-hand turn into the pit lane now to serve the drive-through.
As I said, untidy. Now, we have, see, Truth Serum has been deployed as through comes Sean McAllister for his incident responsibility. Let's go for a video pit lane report. Team TGM are about to be pushed off the pit lane with their number 46 Ford. Arjuna Kankapati can tell us why.
It was a throttle position issue that they were working through, so clearly trying to fix the issue first just under the bonnet before going into the cockpit to try and rectify that, but it's getting pushed back into the garage area right now as there's more chaos on track.
Full course yellow, 2 cars involved. I think it's definitely Will Talley in the Victor Gomez Racing Cupra, but I think there's another car in that as well. Has very badly deranged left rear suspension. Some of the tyre bundles have gone for a little walk as well. That again is on the run down to turn 2. So just after the kink at turn 1, is that? We've already got the Raptor F-150. Will Talley is moving and the door is open. Our safety team already there. No, that is a car on its own. I thought I saw a second car through the dust. Now, he gets an, well, that was the 77 getting a nudge. That was Rafael Rice. That's a different incident. Similar coloured car in the Cupra being dark grey. Yes, there was another car there, and that one's gone over as well. Will Talley's been on his roof and then back on to his Michelin tyres. That's the 3rd car today that has been on its roof. And there was another car involved in that. I think it might have been one of the GS cars coming through the field, but I'm not prepared to say which one at the moment. We'll wait for race control to work that one out. Ryan, did you catch which of the cars that might have been as they were coming up. Right, first of all, Will Talley is out of the car and walking back to our rapid response vehicle, one of the Porsche Cayennes. So they were coming through, someone coming out the pits. That was the Carbahn car. Oh no, it was definitely one of the TCR cars that was at least in the vicinity, shall I say, Ryan. Can't say whether that was involved.
No, and I didn't get a number on the shot that we had there, so I don't want to make a guess. But I'm just happy that Dr. William Talley is okay. That is unbelievable that we've had 3 cars get on their roof here today. I've gone entire seasons without seeing a car get upside down, and we've had 3 here today. But the good news is everyone's been able to drive away from those. As you mentioned, there was a GS car leaving the pits, and that was Sean McAllister serving his drive-through penalty. This yellow is great news for them, just as the previous one was for Pan Am, because it allows them to bunch back up with the field and mitigates the time lost with that drive-through.
Yeah, I have somewhere my spotter's guide for this event, and I think scrolling down, well, it's one of 2 cars, and I'm not going to mention it until it pops up, because I don't want to call somebody's name that I don't know which one it was. But I've narrowed it down to 2. I can phone a friend, or I can have a 50-50. Well, at least I could do if I was on Millionaire. However, let's wait to see what race control make of that, and see if there is any charges to answer. KMW machine, William Talley used to drive for that. KMW Motorsport, of course, when they ran the Alpha. Kept the same sort of colourway. Going across the line now, but that's the Honda now this time. The good news is Will Talley, Dr. William Talley, is out of the car and walked again under his own volition. Looks to me as though there was some of one of the teams on the pit wall there, Ryan, checking a car as it went past them. They would have asked the IMSA pit lane team if they could go to the outside wall whilst they were under full course yellow. It's going to be a bit of tyre bundle repair as well on the front straight, right in front of a really big phalanx of spectators there. So they had a up close and personal view of Dr. William Talley, and indeed the bottom of that number 21 as it went over the Victor Gonzalez racing team, the Cooper Leon VZ TCR. Nate Cicero, by the way, still leads the race, just to let you know, and Mason Filippi still leads in TCR. All the action has gone on way back behind them. They'll be blissfully ignorant until they come round to the site of the accidents, Ryan.
Right, yeah, that's the truth. Sorry for stepping on you there, but we are not a million miles away from the minimum drive time having elapsed. Now, when we're talking about the strategy, we thought with a yellow that a one-stopper in both classes could be viable, and at this point, I think it's pretty clear that we're going to be able to see cars one-stop if that's what they want to do. But 40 minutes is the minimum drive time. That is now just under 12 minutes away, and as you point out, John, this cleanup could take a little while, and I wonder, of course, we're within the first 30 minutes of the race, so these are all technically short yellows, but talking to race control yesterday, they said if it is an extended yellow, they have a mechanism in the rules whereby they can convert a short yellow to a regular full course yellow, and that might be something they would consider here, especially if this does run another 10, 12 minutes where we're approaching that window where teams could elect to make that first pit stop with the minimum drive time already elapsed.
Getting news now from race control. Actually, I'll come back to that in a moment. The sad news earlier on today of the death of Alex Zanardi, synonymous with Laguna Raceway after his pass on the dirt. A multiple Olympic champion for Italy. Indeed, Italy's greatest ever para-Olympian. Took one of his 2 gold medals at the London Olympics on the finish line of Brands Hatch, fighting after a nasty road accident in Tuscany a few years ago when he was out training on his hand bike. I described him earlier on as an habitual winner, as well as an Olympic champion, Formula One driver, won in just about everything he did, and won in life as well, because he was a brilliant, brilliant person. I highly recommend, if you weren't watching us earlier, I highly recommend you go and find the documentary No Limits, which was made around him driving with hand controls at the Spa 24 Hours. Alex Zanardi, top bloke, genuine legend in the true sense of the word, and a smashing fella. Always was happy to talk to you, whatever the circumstances, when he put a microphone under his nose. Sadly, died. Pass on our condolences and best wishes to his family, his wife and children, and of course his many friends and teammates in the world of motorsport. So just underlining then that the cars involved with that VGRT, there'll be no further action. It was Dean Baker in the Baker Audi, which was one of the 2 cars that I thought it was. I thought it was either Sam or Dean, and I wasn't prepared to say which. Inconclusive, no action. And we're also having a look at the incident between, or at least the race control are, at the incident between Lads Bergstein in the Brian Herter Autosport car and Rafael Reis in the number 77, that being the Stallion Motorsport Cupra. Those have both been looked at. Let's take the opportunity while we can to get another BDO pit lane report. Here's Arjuna.
One of the drivers that calls this very much a hometown race, but also for the team a hometown race. It's the Murillo Racing Crew, based up in Santa Rosa, probably a 3-hour drive from the Monterey Peninsula. But Kenny Strauss, you won here a couple of years ago, so you must have some good memories of the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Yeah, I mean, in 2023, everything kind of came together and pulled off a win, which was really great. We're just trying to carry that into 2026, which is a little difficult. That was another pavement, and but no, the crew did an amazing job with the Murillo Racing P1 Motor Club Mercedes AMG. Just rolled out of the trailer, just really great, and gave us a really good base for Aurora and I to just come out here and try our hardest.
And the team as well had a lot of work to do after Sebring. You were involved in that lap 1 contact, so how much work did they have to do to get you out here racing?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge family effort, really, to get the car back together. And not only is it back together, but it's back together in top form, and the car's as fast as it's ever been.
Proper family effort as well. You and your wife Aurora sharing the responsibility of driving, but off the track as well, you're busy with all the different things. What's it like being back in this IMSA paddock with your wife full-time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream come true. It's something that we've always kind of strived for, and the fact that we're here and doing it together, especially under the Murillo Racing and P1 Motor Club umbrella, it's the stars aligned for us, and we're just trying to make the most of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have had the number 39 Carbon car answer its drive-through, and as Ryan Marine rightly said here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre, that has not worked out too badly, because despite that they're not last and they are still on the lead lap. They're actually sitting in 25th position. That sounds bad for Sean McAllister, but he can work with that. And more full course yellow has absolutely, Ryan, made this a one-stop race for both the GS class and the TCR. So now it's about drive time. We've only had 33, call it 34 minutes, so we're not quite there yet. But there will be people watching stopwatches, particularly those who've not been down the pit lane. Pit lane driving time does not count against the minimum drive time. So if you are in the pit lane, if you've made a pit stop and you were in for 2 minutes, let's say, you've got to add that on the end. But there's going to be a lot of stopwatch watching here in the next actually not even that, the next 6 or 7 minutes.
Right, exactly. We're really close now to that minimum drive time having elapsed. So if you're a front runner, and especially if your pace between your two drivers is quite similar, then I expect everyone will try in that scenario to make this a one-stop race. No problem with all this full course yellow running. For the teams, though, that have a driver with more experience or a stronger driver in their lineup and then one that isn't quite on that same pace, the window does open in just over 5 minutes. Now, it would be, unless we get this much yellow in the second half of the race, it would be pretty much impossible to do it, to go to the finish from there, but you could try and do the two-stopper and hope for yellows to get you back into the conversation.
I reckon everybody at the front of the field's going to go as long as they can here. If they can get to an hour and 5, an hour and 6 minutes, so, you know, another 20 minutes, 30 minutes from here. With a good restart by Nate Cicero as we came to the green. 17 laps completed, but a goodly proportion of that behind our fabulous livery on the Porsche safety car, by the way, mirroring or echoing the Apple computer livery that Porsche Penske Motorsport are running on their 963s this weekend. Quite a lot of the sponsors, partners, and even IMSA with some throwback baseball caps. The beige baseball caps with the straight up and down IMSA logo. Here is the TCR penalty, and that is for that number 18 car, as we were mentioning. So I'm afraid Lance Bergstein will have to come down and give up 4th place for that incident with Rafael Rice, who's right behind him in the Stallion Motorsports Cupra. So that is going to take them out to get that done straight away, because you never know what's going to happen. We've still, despite all this stop-start, Ryan, we've still got 83.5 minutes of racing to go.
There is time to get back into this race. We've seen crazier things happen in Michelin Pilot Challenge in the past, and the last 2 yellows, there have been 2 instances of why you want to serve those penalties as soon as possible, because a quick yellow right afterwards and you're right back to the back of the pack. So we'll see how quickly Lance comes in, but it is a setback certainly for the team and driver that finished runner-up at Sebring.
Preston Brown came off the track in turn 9 and he's dived straight to the pit lane, and he's got some kind of problem. Hearing the team talking about a flat tyre. The 2 right side Michelins look okay. It's at the left side on the number 18 Hyundai as he comes into the, oh sorry, that's the 18 serving his penalty. Preston Brown is in the 76 car, and that is the right front. It's off the rim, and there's a brand new Michelin tyre. This is awful luck for them. Now, did they just catch a curb? Oh, it had already gone. It had already gone when he was off the track. That's why he couldn't turn in at the corkscrew and took the Zanardi line, as it were. Those of you with long memories back to, what was that, 2006, when that pass on the dirt happened when that happened. Oh my goodness me. A huge bunch of cars now with the TCRs catching the back of the GS field. Arjuna, was that a 1 tyre change then for Preston Brown in the Hyundai number 76?
It was, because they were 2 minutes shy of making that minimum drive time and potentially doing their driver change. And I'm starting to see some drivers pop up onto the wall, John. I think we're getting ready, like you said, to put some of the faster drivers into the GT4 machinery.
Well, it's a roll of the dice. We've got, what, 80 minutes still to go. You can't, well, I'm going to say 2 words at this point when I say there's 80 minutes still to go, and if you stop straight after the drive times elapsed. You can't make it home. I'm going to say 2 words on that, Ryan Marine, and the 2 words are Robin Liddell. Sebring is the 3rd word on that. You can, with a bit of help and with a soft right foot, there will be people crunching the numbers right now. It's not so much about fuel saving now, it will be fuel saving in the second half of the race.
And I'm not even sure that a lot of these are about trying to do this on 1 stop. I think these are cars committed to doing 2 stops, the second of which, though, will be quite quick. Problems for a front runner, though. Bryce Ward from well inside the top 10. He was running 6th, and he's pointed the wrong way.
We've also, that's a turn 10 coming down the hill, and we've also got another tyre issue. Was that contact as well? That is the Kosh Copeland Motorsport Supra that is running slowly, and he's now in the pit lane. So all kinds of drama. We're staying green at the moment. Alan Patton's in the pit lane for Van der Steur Racing, and he came in just after the 40 minutes. Now, the Koch car hasn't been in the pit lane yet. They might as well do their driver change here, Ryan. They might as well make something out of the adversity. Let's go down to Arjuna for a BTO pit lane report.
I don't see a driver change, though, for the Van der Steur Racing number 66 as they get to work changing the 4 Michelin tyres. I can see the Ford Copeland Motorsports team, the Koch Copeland Motorsports team, excuse me, with Ford Koch getting out. Looks like Jackson Bell going to jump in, and they are looking very much to this race to try and reignite their championship hunt. As soon as you mentioned trouble, though, on track for Windward Racing, John, it was remarkable how many pit crews got onto the wall, all in almost unison. I'm waiting to see who else is going to try and use this window to come in and out. The 66 does have a little bit of damage to the right rear. I wonder if that was also part of them coming in just at the pit window kind of opens.
Yeah, the problem for Ford Koch and the rest of that team, the bright orange and white Toyota, was, yes, they did have a left front tyre off the rim, but they had a steering control arm that popped as the tyre popped, or maybe it was just before. Did they get a little nudge from another car? Yes, they did. Yes, they did, just coming out of the corkscrew, and there was just enough side-by-side contact to make it a damaging incident there, Ryan.
Yeah, and
again, I go back to my spotter's guide. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's Bryce Ward was caught up in that too. Everybody coming together trying to avoid the damaged car there of Ford Koch, who I think is out of the car, and looks like their day might be over prematurely, but everyone had to scramble this way and that, and it really bunched the field up. I think Bryce got the worst of that, unfortunately got tipped around. Like I said, at the time was running well inside the top 10, but did they make the way to the pits? I don't think that they did. Confirm that. I don't think so, though.
I think the other car involved, which caused the breakage, the coming together of which caused the breakage on that Toyota, I think that was the Alan Patton Van der Steur Racing Aston Martin, and they've just copped a penalty for improper attire whilst fueling. So that car also had a puncture. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'm also looking at Andy Blackmore's brilliant spotter's guide. From what I saw, and the red flash on the car, the side of the car, I think that was the other car involved there. I don't think it's going to be a penalty for the contact. I think that was incidental to the problems that the Toyota was having and having to move slowly. Now, the interest is for 20th and 19th position, which is actually the front of the TCR field, catching the back of the GS field. Mason Felipe, who has Christine Sloss ahead of him, and that is causing him some strife through the corners because his mirrors are full of the grey Cupra of Franco Girolami of the MMG Honda Civic sitting right in there as well with LP Montour, and right now he can't get his cornering speed where he wants it because of the GSs that are battling ahead of him. The green and yellow Aston is Christine and Christine Schloss, and ahead is Dana Mann in the Porsche from VRC Motorsport Group, and then another second up the road is the Carbon car, which has had its problems already. Oh, there's a touch between Christine and the number 91 car, and Dana Mann's gone round the Van der Steur racing car, hitting the VRC Motorsport Group's car coming out of turn 9, and the Mobile One with Pegasus on the side, the GT4. Now that might be good news for the TCRs. Have they managed to get past the Aston? No, they haven't, Ryan. So they're still scrapping in behind that car, which of course is much faster on the straights than the TCR, but a well-driven TCR is really good through the twisty stuff.
And then it all condenses behind that GS class car. They had to scramble to take avoiding action to get around Dan Ammon there. Able to do so, but you're right, Felipe's troubles aren't done yet. Christine's still up ahead of him. That's under review, as you might expect, and should a penalty get handed down, that then could free up this TCR battle. But for the moment, Mason Felipe's got to think about that GS car ahead, but also the Sebring class winner just behind him, Franco Girolami.
We are looking for a Michelin moment of the race for both GS and TCR with an hour and 14 minutes to go. It may yet still be to happen. The Toyota Super GR number 23 car that was involved earlier on in that incident for Ford Koch, right at the front of the field for Koch Coupler Motorsport car. That's gone behind the wall with damaged left front steering. So much going on the track at the moment, as you might expect with two classes and this amount of traffic out there. Keeping an eye on the battle in TCR, where Rafael Rice has Sam Baker now right in his wheel tracks. It does look like the hood on that grey Supra, which is Cupra rather, which has gone wide there, and Sam needs no further, LP Montour rather, needs no further introduction. Montour having a look at the 99, that's Franco Girolami, that's another grey car and lighter coloured car, so that's the battle for second actually. So Girolami and MMG, Gonzalez and MMG, Girolami and Montour through turn 5. These TCR cars just absolutely wonderful through the medium and fast corners. They really throw themselves at the corners, Ryan.
Oh, they are proper race cars, as we've talked about all year. Mason Felipe took the pole position at a 1:29.3. That would have had him line up on the inside of row number 4 of the GS class grid, to give you some idea of the pace that's available to the TCR drivers. These are really, really quick race cars, and this is a track where the way that they interact with the GS cars really has an impact on both classes' races.
I understand the frustration of this. Oh, now Samantha Tan has dived into the pit lane. ST Racing by Random Vandals. So coming up to 50 minutes, that's their first pit stop. So that then, I think, is a scheduled driver change. Arjuna will get down there for a video pit lane report. So they are looking at an hour and 11 minutes. They're gambling on some more yellow, or they're saying, hey, if we have to splash before the end, that's what we're going to do, Ryan.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because they are definitely outside of an easy window to make it home in one stop, but we've seen the way the start of this race has gone, and maybe they're thinking, okay, if we get some yellows, then we could be in prime position. It also could just be part of their plan, though, to get Bill Oberlin in that car as soon as possible. Hopefully we'll get Arjuna down there to get some clarity.
Yellow card Just a warning for Christine Schloss in that incident with the Mobile 1 Porsche, or the Mobile Porsche, number 91 car, getting spun around. But an incident responsibility assessed to the Aston Martin driver, but just a warning there. And so a slap on the wrist. Nate Cicero, by the way, has not managed to pull away, but he and Veron Choksi have. They are 10.5 seconds down the road from Dylan McAvern, who is third for Turner Motorsport in the BMW M4 GT4 Evo. He's got 1.1 seconds on Moise Oreski, who is carving his way through the field. I said that wasn't a great qualifying performance from the guys at Ibiza Farm Motorsport, but he's already up to 4th position, 11, call it 12 seconds off the lead. He's got he's got 5 seconds rather on Medusa Motorsport and Hunter Yenny. Then Nicky Hayes, Random Vandals, another 3/10 back. Bob McKaylian having a great run in the number 59 Core Motorsports car, half a second further back, and he's got half a second on Hannah Greenmeyer for Harter Racing. Top 10 made up by Caio Chavez in Pan Am's number 54 with a 130.3 last time around. That car's fastest lap of the race, the bright orange number 54. The top 10 made up by Chris Miller of the Miller Unitronic. Pit lane penalty for too many people, or people over the wall, before the car came to a halt for Thomas Merrill and Circle H Racing in the Aston Martin. So that will be another drive-through for them. Cost them a bit of real estate. Not even at the halfway point yet. And at the front of the field, Ryan, working lap number 28, Ford Mustang versus Toyota GR Supra. These two are having a cracking scrap, and despite that, they are still pulling away from the rest of the field.
They are. It's interesting to note there were 4 Supras starting inside the top 6 at the beginning of the race, down to just 1 that's still in contention, although Caio Chavez is doing a pretty good job to recover after that penalty early in the race, back inside the top 10 and up to 9th. Meanwhile, some smoke off the front of one of the front-running TCR cars. It's the 52, I believe. Yep. Oh, and now we know why.
Sam Baker. They were bumping and barging. Sam Baker and Raphael Rice coming up the front straight. The Stallion Motorsport with Go Racing. And that was physical, shall we say. That was interesting what Eddie Gore was saying about them. And we've got a full course yellow. This is debris on the circuit and a large lump of it. And that is just going into the Andretti hairpins at the start of the lap. Just finish my thought, not sure who that is quite a substantial bit of rubbish on the track, so that is a good call from race control with just on an hour and 8 minutes. I thought it was interesting what Eddie Gore said about running the Audi or running the Cupra. Ultimately, that is the same platform, both built by Cupra Sport and supported by Cupra Sport. But of course, the Audi is a 4-door sedan saloon, and the Cupra is a 5-door hatchback. Very interesting what he said there. Now let's see, was it the damage from the number 52 car? That he was indeed. So it was the Baker Audi that shed what I think was a wheel arch liner out from probably the left front of that car through the back. Full course yellow. BDO pit lane report. Let's find out what was going down at ST Racing. Samantha Tan did get out. Purely tactical, Arjuna, and if it is, it's worked nicely for them with this full course yellow.
Timings work nicely, John, but I wonder if they are going to come back down and do a splash of fuel just to top off the tank relative to the rest of the teams who are now standing on the pit wall and ready to get to work. There's a couple of teams in particular who I think this caution, John, really benefits. Ibiza Farm Motorsport started a bit further down than maybe they wanted to, but Moisey Uretsky's driven the white and red McLaren through the field and is going to hand over to Michael Cooper, and we know exactly what Michael Cooper can do when you put him in positions like this with an hour and 6 minutes to go to fight that McLaren to the front.
Yeah, that's another throwback livery, MP412, isn't it? It's the classic chevron-styled livery of the major sponsor, the title sponsor, back in the day. Ryan Marine, what do you make of this? Sometimes you are the windscreen, sometimes you are the bug. That has worked out nicely for ST Racing with Bill Oberlin. He'll only need to take a splash. They could make up a lot of places here.
Bingo, I think you're exactly right. There are 3 cars, maybe 4. I think it's 3 that are going to benefit from this. The other is the Carbon car. As long as McAllister got his drive time done, and I think he did, they are on the right sequence here, having pitted already and remained on the lead lap, and they've done their driver change. Same with Samantha Tandebill Oberlin for ST Racing by Random Vandals. Also, Turner Motorsport, Robbie Foley now in the number 96. They're in this same situation. So what I project will happen is they will pit with the rest of the GS class cars. Those cars, though, will have to do whatever tire stop they would normally do, and fuel and driver change. The 3 cars I mentioned before, they just need a splash. Everyone will then be on the same sequence to the finish on fuel. They'll probably need some fuel save, but should be able to get there, I would expect, from here, or at least be on the same sequence. And I think because they only need to do a splash, they should cycle forward during this yellow flag stop if things play out the way I think they will.
Nobody's going to need a full tank of fuel, in fairness.
No.
But Ryan's right. We've had half an hour of yellow flag, 11 laps in the 3 safety car periods. So nobody's going to need a full tank. But the point that Ryan is making is that the Bill Oberlin car had only just stopped, so it will need even less fuel than everybody else. They will just brimful it. Here they come. Let's get down for a BDO pit lane report and a busy GS-laden pit lane for Arjuna Kangapati.
Stood in front of me is the Turner Motorsports number 95, Luca Mars and Dylan McIvern started in 8th. They're now running 3rd as they get that driver change working. And also remember, if you're new to IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, the pit crew members, there's few of them that go over the wall. They've also got to use 5 lug nuts to get these wheels off. Short pit stop for the Circle H number 14 Aston Martin, and off and away they go. Still waiting for the number 38 to even find its pit stall, by the way. They've actually lost some time because of the separation through the field, and so only now does Bill Oberlin get into his box, and they're doing tires as well, so it won't be that BMW that rockets through the order. Instead, it's the number 95 that's first off, and it will beat the McCumbee McAleer Ford for the race lead.
That was very, very tight in the acceleration lane, but once again, Will Turner's team have proved to be outstanding in the pit lane, and that yellow and blue car, styled after the Renault Lagunas in British Touring Car Championship back in the day. That was where that particular livery came from. I drove past Jason Plato's shop today, right next to where I used to work, and that is a great turn. Is that the Michelin moment of the race? In GS, maybe a pass on the pit lane speed limiter. Absolutely extraordinary stuff. The number 59 Core Motorsport car, did that get out ahead of everybody else? Or was that just a quirk of the timing? He was all the way at the end of the pit lane. No, I am fairly certain that it is the number 95 BMW. Here comes the TCR field. We'll work out that in a moment, but I've got the Turner BMW leading on my tracker, as in come the hordes of front-wheel drive TCRs. Arjuna.
And the race-leading number 33, Mason Filippi, has done a great job as he hands over to Bryson Norris, but there is damage on the right front that has seen the dive plane somewhat hang off the car, and so I'm curious what's going to end up happening there, if they are going to do any work. No, it's just the front tires that have been replaced, stickers thrown on, and now the fuel being loaded up as one GT4 car slow to leave. It's the LAP Motorsports number 30 Ford Mustang. It's rolling to the end of the pit lane. The number 33 is the first to leave its pit stall, but it's a little bit further down the lane as it runs up towards the pit exit. The MMG car not going to be able to run alongside, and so it will be the second place Cupra for Victor Gonzalez Racing that ends up just in front of that distressed Honda for MMG.
Distressed Honda, very good. So, of the cars that have stopped, it is indeed BMW number 95 for Turner Motorsport, who stopped in that sequence. It is the BMW that leads. Actually, the LAP Ford Mustang has just popped out in front of them as well. They must be right on the end of the lead lap. I am going to ask my esteemed colleague in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre, Ryan Marine, why Maddie Oust stayed out for Brian Herter Autosport, has not been down the pit lane at all, and we are just over halfway through this race. I mean, leads the race, has been scored as leading the race, but obviously will get shuffled to the back of the GS. You take your time to answer that, because we're going for a BDO pit lane report. Sean McAllister out of his car after an eventful start for the Carbon team, and he's talking to Arjuna Kakapati.
We're actually wandering down the pit lane as well. Sean is on his way to apologize for some contact. Sean, talk us through that first stint.
Oh my God, it was hectic. I thought I got a pretty decent launch off the line, but those Toyotas are so quick with the torque. One of them was able to get in front of me, so I took the outside line going into turn 2, and then I tried to stay out of the guy's bumper, the Aston Martin in front of me, going through turn 3. But unfortunately, a different Toyota had a different plan to try and go around or down the outside or down the inside, and I had nowhere to go. If I went out wider, I would have tagged the other guy and I would have gotten a penalty, or if I stayed in my line, then that's what that happened. So unfortunately, then it was just trying to catch back up to the group. And yeah, we were going 3 wide through turn 5 with Christine, and unfortunately just broke a little too deep. Everybody broke too deep, and I even tried to go through the dirt to avoid her, but it wasn't possible to avoid, unfortunately. So yeah, that's why I'm heading down this way.
Thanks, Sean. And John, if you wanted any indication of the character of Sean McAllister, like I said, I found him walking down to Van der Stoor Racing to apologize for that bit of contact.
We're going to have the race control look at contact between, well, that's just disappeared now. I think it was the James Vance Baker Racing Audi and the number 77, Celso Neto Stallion Motorsport with Go Racing. 52 and 77 are indeed, yes, that is under review. Found it again on the race control channel. Wave by is complete. Carbon stayed out, Ryan.
Yeah.
So the 2 cars that stayed out, Maddie Oust and the Carbon number 39, not entirely certain, because they're, well, Maddie will get shuffled to the back of GS, will still be leading TCR, but hasn't done any kind of pit stop yet. And the Peregrine car, Jeff Westphal, had stayed on the lead lap. That was an opportunity surely for those guys to take fuel and improve their position, but then go to the end.
Right. I'm confused by both of those. The Matty Oust situation for Brian Herta in particular, I really don't understand, because TCR was clearly within a window to do it on one stop. That's why the rest of the field came in. She still needs to stop. Nobody else in the class does. So I'm going to speculate that was miscommunication. Hard to say. But for Jeff Westphal, I'm a little confused by that one as well. They were in the same position as the 38 and the 96, where they had done their stop, their driver change, and they could have pitted, had a shorter pit time, and cycled forward a little bit. Robbie Foley came in to that pit stop sequence, that 96 car rather, that Foley is now in, that Vin Barletta started. They came in 23rd. They're now up to, what is it, 9th place in class. And I think that Westphal could have been in that same general area. So I'm kind of perplexed by that decision. Hopefully Arjuna can figure out why.
Hugh Plum's popped into the pits to top off the number 64 TGM racing car, and is out again. And of course he'll be allowed to do the class split. If you're wondering where Paul Holton and the 46 car is, that car had a problem earlier on and went behind the wall, hasn't reappeared. We have lost the Porsche of CSM, which didn't start, the Matty Stewart car. BSI Racing's Lucas Weisenberg's Toyota with an issue earlier on. Will Talley, Victor Gonzalez Racing, was upside down for a moment in the Cupra, as was Lucas Weisenberg actually as well. Ford Koch in the Koch Coulter Motorsport, that was a left front puncture and then contact which caused East left-hand front steering issue. We're coming back to green. We'll do an update on Carbon in a moment, but let's see what happens with the guys at the front of the field. So Jeff Westphal will lead them to the line and does so, and goes down into the first corner. So Luca Mars now, behind the wheel of the number 95 Turner Motorsport. Then Robert Noega for the blue and black of the Ford Mustang. Michael Cooper is the closer for Ibiza Farm Motorsport in the newly liveried red and white Ibiza Farms McLaren. Right, that's got underway. Let's go down to Arjuna for a BTO pit lane report. Why did the Carbon car stay out? Was that just miscommunications?
No, it's because they had topped off recently enough that they didn't see any benefit on coming back down to the pit lane. So that was the answer for Carbon. But I've also grabbed Mason Felipe after jumping out of the number 33 Brian Herder Autosport Hyundai TCR. I saw some damage on the right front. What happened?
Yeah, you just have to manage the traffic, right? It's a tight course, and when you are coming through some different class cars, sometimes they might not see you. So, you know, it was side by side. Luckily, the car is great. The car still is really fast, so we're looking forward to the rest of the race.
Strategy-wise now, what are we looking at? 55 minutes to the end of the race. Are we going to be able to run full tilt?
Yeah, it's a tire management game now, so just focusing forward, and I know Bryson's going to do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
BTO pit lane report. So when we restarted, the Carbon car, Jeff Westphal, got pushed back to 4th position as they went across the line, and it was long before the line. So that must have been a reset by race control. Not entirely certain, because they did not pit, so it couldn't have been that they got to the pit lane line behind other people. Ryan and I are scratching our heads because they last pitted, what, over 20 minutes ago, Ryan, and I hear what Arjuna is saying, but I'm not sure that 20 odd minutes plus 50 minutes, 55 minutes when we restarted, I'm not sure they can make that.
Well, yeah, that would be a monumental run. Maybe with the kind of yellow we saw in the first half of the race, maybe you could, but I don't know. Maybe they know something I don't. There's a reason they're doing strategy for a race team, and I'm just talking into a microphone. But I have to say I'm a bit perplexed by that decision. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they can pull a rabbit out of the hat.
All right, stand by, get your bingo cards out. The Aston Martin number 14 of CSM, there's going to be a lot of these. The number 18 as well, that's one of the TCR cars. isn't it? I've just got a line of numbers here, which I'll try and translate into cars for you. Also, so the 18 is, because I don't like giving numbers out, that's Harry Gottsacker. Baker Racing, number 56. I think the 72 as well, that is the Pegram Racing car. Yes, it is. And which one have I missed out? The number 56. No, I mentioned that one. That's running a red light at the pit exit. That's a stop and 60-second hold. In addition to that, we've got a drive-through for the number 4. Athens Sterling has just done that for Medusa Motorsports Aston. That was for improper attire while fueling. That probably sounds like the visor wasn't down. Did we pick all of those off? There were 5 cars that got stop and 60, 14, 18, 52, 56, 72. Yes, I think we did pick all of them off. So it was basically race control being like a bingo caller to it. Absolute. Oh, sorry, the one I missed out. I did miss one out. Number 54, the house with the bamboo door, if you know your old music. That got a penalty for running over something in the pit lane, person, tools, etc. So that was just a drive-through for that one. Oh my goodness me. A litany. So that was Guillaume Salas for Panam Motorsport, who has just served that penalty. But absolute carnage in the pit lane, and penalties plenty for that. Right, Ryan, we've sorted that out. Let's go back to the front of the field. I still don't know why Carbon got moved back to 4th on the restart. We'll try and get race control to clarify that for us. Luke Mars, Turner Motorsport, BMW leads by nothing at all from Robert Noaker. We know how good he is. From Michael Cooper, we know how good he is. From Jeff Westphal, we know how good he is. And then Kiko Porto has been impressive for Rafa Racing. Another 2/10 further back. And Billy Johnson in the top 6 in the Ford Mustang. And that's got to catch your attention as well.
Oh, definitely. You know he's a rocket ship when he's in that car, and he shares it, of course, with Bob McCallion. And that could be a very special story if the McCallion family was able to have something to celebrate here this weekend. But to the front of the field, I think the story here is what Turner has been able to do in the pits. Usually, these pit stops, the last thing that's going in is the fuel. But because we had so much yellow in the first hour of the race, it really came down to execution from the guys changing the tires, and the Turner guys were great in the case of both of their cars. That helped Mars get to the front in the 95, and again, it also helped Robbie Foley in the 96 jump so far up the field. That actually was more strategy and fairness, as we talked about earlier.
Yes, it did. Grant Westman said, did the 96 actually take tyres during that stop? They were behind.
I doubt it.
The number 38 car, and they've come out well in front, miles ahead. Good spot there, Grant, at IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch. Also now a penalty for equipment unattended. This for a car that's been up and down the standings today, currently standing in 5th position, Kiko Porto, and that will be a drive-through for Rafa Racing. They absolutely did not need that when they were in such good shape towards the end of the race. That puts Billy Johnson up to 5th position. Mikey Taylor up to 6th. We've got some big names inside the top 10. Robbie Foley, Morgan Burghardt, Kenny Murillo for Murillo Racing, Hannah Grisham for Harter Racing. They're all now going to be in the top 10 and chasing down Luke Mars, Robert Noaker, Mike Cooper and Jeff Westphal. Those are your top 4 at the moment. Kiko Porto into 4th position, has gone past Jeff Westphal and puts the fastest lap of the race in. A sub 1 minute 30. There's not many of those on the board, Ryan.
No, not at all. That's a great lap from Kiko. Unfortunately, they've got the penalty coming. That was the one Toyota that had avoided problems in the first hour that had started up toward the front. Remember, 4 of the first 6 cars on the grid were Toyota Supras. 3 of them had problems really in the first 20 minutes, and it was just the car that Porter was now driving that had avoided that, and now they've got problems too. And once they serve that penalty, there will be no Toyota Supras in the top 10 after starting 4 in the top 6.
As the old song goes, if Nick Damon was here, he would be singing it. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. Never was it ever so true as in motorsport. Top 3 diving down through to Raining Curve. Now down towards turn 10. 3 different manufacturers. In fact, at the moment, in the top 4, before Kiko Porter pulls off, 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. BMW, Ford, McLaren and Toyota. Extraordinary stuff, and what great racing. How good does that McLaren look, by the way, in its old livery? That particular chevron and Dayglow livery in a variety of colours, from dark red through to actually Dayglow orange down through the years for McLaren with one particular sponsor. I would suggest that looks on that would look good on any car. In fact, we have had a Mazda MX-5 running here, debuted that particular livery on a very foggy morning. I seem to remember it was the first of the day. That's another one of those liveries that you can bang on to pretty much anything, motorcycle, car or truck. Like the Martini stripes, the BMW M stripes, Gulf colours work just as well. And I would dare say it never makes a car or racing vehicle look any worse. 45 minutes to go, Ryan, and it is, I don't think it's flat out to the finish here, but
no.
All of these top 4 cars right now are on the same strategy, and Kiko has not yet come into the pit lane. They are going to be getting tight to their 3 times past the start-finish line for this drive-through penalty. Surely they must be arguing it at the moment.
I think that they might be. We just saw a replay, which from where we're sitting, and that it showed me 2 things. Number 1, it showed the Pan Am car running over the Rafa Racing team's air hose, and we know they were penalized for that. The penalty for the 12 was unattended pit equipment. The replay showed at the end of the pit stop a pit crew member celebrating what was a pretty clean stop and stepping away from the tire that was there. Not very far, not very much, but you can't leave the equipment unattended. And anyway, well, I assume that's what the infraction was for, and that's why we saw that replay, John. And if it is, that's a tough pill to swallow. But again, you got to know the rules, and you can't leave any wiggle room for the officials to call you out for a miscue.
Yeah, he's spot on there, Ryan. That's exactly what race control have been explaining to the team and to us here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. All right, it's getting hot and heavy again out on the circuit after a problem for Bryce Ward when he was pointing in the right direction earlier on. Dan Arrow, the very fast Dutchman, now is in 13th position in the number 57 Winwood Racing car, and he is fighting his way back. We'll keep an eye on the track. Let's take a BDO pit lane report. Nate Cicero's teammate Robert Noecker in 2nd at the moment, in the midst of an absolute dogfight. Here's Arjuna.
It was a 5th pole position in 8 races in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge for Nate Cicero, and I heard you were only half a tenth off the theoretical best. Did you get the most out of the car yesterday?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. I didn't see the theoretical, but I believe it. Yeah, it took absolutely everything to get pole position yesterday. We had a pretty strong car in the first half of the race, so we'll see. Robert's doing a really good job right now. We'll see if we can, maybe get by BMW there and hold on.
How difficult is it trying to pace these restarts when we had so many cautions in that first hour? Because that's always when you're the most vulnerable as the leader.
Yeah, I felt pretty comfortable managing it. Just trying to save fuel and make sure the tires were in a good spot, make sure the car's in a good spot for when Robert gets in. So yeah, I was just managing my own race, doing my own thing, and yeah, having fun.
So you said on Friday you were searching for a bit more front end. Sounds like you found it.
Yeah, I think we found a much better balance. You know, our Ford Mustang is feeling awesome. So yeah, we're having a good day, and we'll see if we can get a podium here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Track temperature is coming up very quickly, Ryan. 34 Celsius is 93 Fahrenheit. Air temperature still high 50s, early 60s Fahrenheit, 16 Celsius. But looking after the tyres to the end of the race here, it could be absolutely crucial. That overcast is breaking up, and we know that this track surface heats up very quickly indeed in direct sunlight.
Yeah, we've heard that from a few drivers this weekend across multiple series. They've talked about that, and there's a few areas that have not been resurfaced, but they've been treated, let's say, since we were here last, and that's a much darker part of the track. You can visibly see that area that had the sealant applied leading into this year and this weekend here for IMSA. So that section especially is really going to heat up. That said, it is still a pretty smooth surface and not nearly as abrasive as it was before the repave a couple of years ago. So it's not the same level of tire degradation that we're used to seeing in the past if you go back to before the repave, but we're starting to get some of that back as the surface ages a little bit. So it's a combination, to your point, John, of managing your resources, whether that's fuel, whether that's tires, especially in GS, trying to make all of those things last for about an hour, a little more than an hour, but a good chunk of that was under full course yellow.
And Madeline Stewart, CSM didn't start. BSI Racing's Lucas Weisenberg was upside down in the Toyota. The Ford Mustang of Paul Holton. That was a technical issue. What was that? They had, was that an electrical problem that they got pushed back? Will Talley was upside down for a moment in the Cupra Leon. And Ford Koch in the Koch Copeland Toyota had front steering and suspension damage. That number 23 Toyota has become the first official retirement, but the other cars that I've mentioned, I don't think we are going to see again. At IMSA Radio, the CSM number 2 team did very nicely in that pit stop. Ryan Hoover Transport. Hello, Ryan. What did they come in? They came in 14th into the pits. And the CSM Porsche, now driven by Morgan Burghardt, went out in 6th. Went out in 8th, actually, and Morgan's made up a couple of places. There you go. Is that another contender for Michelin moment of the race in GS? Doesn't have to be a pass on the track, but we're keeping an eye open. TCR, Bryson Morris for Brian Hurton Motorsport, from Tyler Gonzalez for VGRT. And in 3rd place, Chelsea Neto for Cupra of Stallion with Gore. And as I thought, we have had Kingo and Porto into the pit lane, but Ryan, Kingo did not come in time for start-finish crossings, and that's going to be a further penalty, I reckon. Yes, it is.
That's up on timing and scoring now. Stop plus 60. That's an additional penalty for not obeying the original penalty that was handed down. And look, at the end of the day, you don't have to like the ruling, but you have to play by it, right? This is IMSA's court and their ball. We're here to play with it, and the officials, they saw something they didn't like. You can argue your case up to a certain point, but you have 4 start-finish crossings. Within that time, you have to serve the penalty, and if you don't, further sanction can be levied, and that's what we've seen.
That is not smart. Not smart at all. They were already in trouble, but that has really scuppered their chances. Hello to Kuiper Hoffman, who is trackside. Kuiper is at Kuiper Hoffman on X, Kuyper, HOWFFMAN. And he says if there's any members of the collective who are trackside, DM him for his location and stop by his campsite for an adult beverage. Please drink responsibly, don't drink and drive. Good to hear from you, Kaiba. Thank you for all the work you're doing in track services, marshalling, corner workers, etc. In and out of the pits. That is a TCR wheel on the wall, and that therefore was Tyler Gonzalez. Yes, with a flat tyre.
And that was a contender in TCR. I think they were second at the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, not good.
It's been a bit of a race of attrition in TCR. Bryson Morris has set sail for the top 20, and he's sitting at 20 at the moment. He has got the fastest lap in the TCR class. The fastest lap in GS is a 1:29.495 for the Rafa Racing Toyota, which is still serving its 60-second hold for not serving its penalty in a timely manner. IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch. We're not ignoring what's going on at the front of the field. It is status quo, albeit a very fast game of chess at the moment. Some debris just off the racing line going down the hill from Rainey into turn number 10. Luca Mars leads by half a second, who has Robert Neuinger in second, who has about the same, half a second, just under, to Michael Cooper. Then there's a 3.5 second gap, but at the moment, BMW, Ford and McLaren, Turner, McCumbee, McAleer Racing and Ibiza Farm Motorsport, take your pick at the moment from those three. We'll keep an eye on that. Then there's a little gap back to another gaggle of cars coming through with some TCRs. Let's have a BTO pit lane report and have a chat to some of the drivers, or one of the drivers at least, who started the race. Rocco Pasquarella put in a decent first shift, and he's talking to our Jim.
Decent first stint, I think, is one way of putting it, because Rocco went for the lead on those opening laps. You were having some fun pushing out there.
For sure. I mean, I've had about 5 laps in practice, so my real first push laps were during qualifying, and I was pretty excited to put it in P3, but figured why not run in the lead, right? No point in running around in second or third. So me and Mason had a little bit of battle there until the first yellow came out, and hope the drivers are all good from that one. It looked pretty rough, but I don't know. I mean, I think we definitely have the car to win this thing. We have a little bit of a gremlin that's been haunting us from Sebring and continuing this weekend, so really disappointing to see that pop up again, especially, we put in a lot of work, and I definitely, again, think we have the car to win this thing. So, especially with the handicap that it's giving us right now and where we're able to be hanging with them. I mean, we'll see what the finish does. A little bit of luck, and there's a lot of mistakes and stuff going on, so we'll see where we end up.
Where is this gremlin costing you the most time right now? I know you might not want to tell me exactly what the issue is, but where is it hurting you guys?
Yeah, every driver always says they want more power. But yeah, I mean, definitely straight line speed is where we're getting a little electrical gremlin that's just not letting us get the RPMs all the way out. So again, pretty disappointing, but I know we'll figure it out, and I think we're going to be really strong in Mid-Ohio.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mid-Ohio next time out for IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, and they are the headline act, and it is their second of 2 4-hour races. We had the first one on Friday afternoon at the Rolex 24 Daytona, and it has been a really big success having Pilot Challenge have their second race as a top build race. Mid-Ohio suits the cars very well. That is their, as I said, that is their next time out. Pit lane caller. This is the car that was nerfed around earlier on, the number 91. Very good colour. It's the VRC Motorsport Group, and Owen Trinkler getting in that car. Good to see Owen back in the paddock. And that is one of the bronze class cars. It has now dropped off the lead GS lap, not down to, I think, the pace that it can turn out. That car getting, should be its last pit stop, and it looked like they were doing something a little more than just fuel and tyres on that car. Let's see what Owen can do. We'll keep an eye on the timing there. At the front of the field, is Luca Mars and Ryan. This trio, I get the feeling here, because there's nobody having a real, there's nobody trying to land a knockout blow. They're not even really, to extend the boxing analogy, they're not even really jabbing each other at the moment. Nobody really making any moves. They're waiting for their fuel numbers, aren't they? They're pulling away from everybody else. They've got a decent, 4-second gap to Jeff Westphal. They're waiting for the team to tell them when they can go full rich to the end, aren't they?
I think you're right. I think so. The pit stop, that yellow came on the very fringe of a GS pit stop window. So it was close enough that you couldn't pass up taking it, because one more yellow and then you're easily good to go to the finish. And with enough concerted fuel save, you should be able to make it. But that's what it's taking. They're having to really work on this here, because we haven't had that kind of full course yellow in the second half of the race that we did in the front half. So just listening from on board, you can hear the lift and coast for Luca Mars in the leading car, and you haven't seen Noaker look threatening at any point in time. He looks quite content to follow. Of the three, I think Michael Cooper has maybe taken a furtive peek one way or the other a couple of times. To me, I think the McLaren is the car to keep an eye on out of this group. Michael was really fast here a year ago, and they were taken out late, an incident not at all of their own making. And this would be a great redemption story for them. But that said, I don't know that we've seen, in fact, I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the full strength out of the 95 or the 13 at this stage at the front of GS.
Well, we're wondering what's happening fuel mileage-wise. Let's ask one of the drivers of the Turner Motorsports number 96 as it runs up front, Dylan McIvern. Luca Mars controlling the tempo of the race. We're not seeing any punches being thrown just yet. What's happening behind the wheel?
Yeah, absolutely. Luca's just being really consistent out there. That's one of the hardest things to do, is lead a race when it's that tight. Turner Motorsports guys put an awesome car together for us, and the pit crew obviously crushed it on pit lane, right? That's what put us in the position that we're in right now. So, you know, there is a little bit of strategy. It actually happened more at the beginning of the race, right? We were saving fuel from the start that gave us the ability to leapfrog in pit lane. Obviously, we have a lot of confidence in the pit crew to get the tire change done very quickly, get the driver change done. But yeah, you know, we're thinking about fuel economy right now, but it's not our major factor. Luca's just concentrating on staying consistent, not making any mistakes, and staying ahead of the cars.
The sun's finally starting to emerge from across the track. Does this help the BMW, these warmer conditions?
You know, it actually does. The BMW does great when it warms up, and some of the NA cars slow down a little bit. So thinking about that Mustang behind us, I know those rear tires get greasy. So we're looking forward to some heat for sure.
Thanks, Dylan.
Cheers.
And as we're talking to Dylan, in comes the number 39 for Jeff Westphal, carbon with Peregrine, and they are taking right side Michelins at the very least, and fueling it for the next 28 minutes and 35 seconds. Fuel was the determining factor there, and by my eyes, they only took 2 tyres. So that is right side, working side, Michelin's only, confirmed by Arjuna in our BDO pit lane report. What a run by Dan Arrow, by the way. Windward Racing back up to 7th. Not a happy start for once for Bryce Ward, but he kept his cool. He was facing the wrong direction, watched everybody drive by him. Didn't damage the car though. And under 1 minute 30 for that car. So he flicks it through the corkscrew, dives down to the diving and tricky left-hander at Rainey. That's turn 9, turn 10, past the bit of debris. It's almost like a marker cone for where you go through. There is quite a bit of debris actually down at the bottom of the hill. Just a moment ago, Dan Arrow just a little hip and shoulder to get through on Robbie Foley. Robbie's taken that position back, so the yellow and blue of the number 96 still holds on to 6th position. Dan Arrow in 7th. That's the battle that they're disputing at the moment, and they're very close together at the Andretti hairpin in turns 2 and 3. Will the BDO sponsored car manage to get through? Turn 5, I would guess the next opportunity for Dan. See how he gets through the right-hander at turn 4. Lift, turn in, power. Not quite getting through there. Behind Dan is Stephen McAleer for Autotechnic Racing in the BMW M4. So Ford, BMW, Mercedes, BMW, Aston scrapping for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th position, with Hannah Grisham not far off the back of that in that Aston. Under half an hour to go, 26.5 minutes. Ryan Marine.
Watching this battle here, let's remember Robbie Foley is on older tires because he is the leader on the two-stop strategy. He's really the only one left on that two-stop strategy. They had done their stop under green to get Vin Barletta out and Robbie in, and I presume did a tire change then, and then just did fuel on the full course yellow pit stop where everybody else pitted. That's what helped vault them up to 9th at the time from 23rd when the yellow came out. So he's got older rubber that he's going to have to nurse to the finish, in addition to having to manage the fuel situation the rest of the way.
Traffic is becoming a problem now, not just TCRs, but some of the GS cars as well. Morgan Burkhart for CSM in the Porsche, the number 2 car, with traffic ahead, but I think it was lap traffic there because the next car ahead of him is Michael Cooper and the rest of the leading 3. And the car ahead is, yes, that is the delayed Kiko Porto for Rafa Racing. Now the good news for Morgan is that is one of the fastest cars, no, the fastest car on the track. So keep it in sight and see if it helps you close the 6-second gap between yourself and the podium positions. Nice use of dark green on that Porsche for Morgan Burkhart, CSM. Kiko Porto and Rafa Racing really must be kicking themselves. It wasn't bad enough that they had a drive-through. They didn't come in and serve it early enough. They had a stop and 60-second hold, which has dropped them way down, in fact off the lead lap. Keeping an eye on the gaps at the front of the field. They're staying pretty close together. The top 3, a 31.3, a 31.4, a 31.5. Turner Motorsport have made the moves. Number 96 car up to 6th position, that's plus 18. CSM in 4th, up 14 positions. Core Motorsport, the number 60 car, they've moved up as well. But my goodness, the number 12 Rafa Racing car, it's made up positions in terms of its class position, but it could have been so much better for that machine. The Toyota's quite clearly with pace over 1 lap. But Ryan, as you mentioned, we've not now got a Toyota better than, what, 15th position?
Yeah.
After half of the top 6 were Toyotas.
Yeah, a lot of self-inflicted wounds, I'm afraid to say, for the Toyota camp here this weekend. They had the raw pace. That was in evidence in qualifying. What was it, 4 in the top 6, and might have been a couple more inside the top 10. Yeah, I think there was an additional one also. No, it was just the 4 in the top 10. But even still, look, the cars were quick. That was without question. But from the very beginning of the race, they were getting penalties or getting run off track, or, I mean, you name it. It's kind of happened to the Toyota camp, and this is certainly one that got away.
Upside down at the first.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. How could I forget? So, I mean, that really set the tone, didn't it? And unfortunately, it's not gotten much better from there.
Video pit lane reports on the 4th place car, Morgan Burkhart for CSM. Arjuna has news. Is it good news or bad news?
Oh, it's amazing news, John, if you are a CSM fan. After starting all the way down in 18th position, the last cycle down pit lane, the pit crew did their job. 6 positions gained. They went from 14th to 8th, and Morgan Burkhart, after getting into the car, has only continued that forward momentum in the number 2. About 7 seconds off the podium spots, yes, but still in a very good position.
Good to have Andretti Performance back. Gabby Chavez in the number 43, the Velo supported car. 13th in GS. Andretti Performance, a sub-time competitor, tried to get a full season running, a couple of seasons ago now, and had the worst luck. A couple of different cars, a couple of different driver lineups, but good to see they are back, and back with a Porsche. Just outside the top 10 at the moment. Gabby Chavez running about 4 seconds, maybe not 5 seconds outside the top 10 at the moment, sitting in 13th position. Bill Oberlin in the BMW M4 GT4 for ST Racing. Samantha Tan Racing is directly ahead by about 2 seconds. Bill has not moved forward in that car. 31.7 last time around. He's taken 0.3 of a second out of Gregory Leofouge in Stephen Cameron Racing for Mustang, who's the next car ahead. But it just hasn't worked strategically or pace-wise or something-wise for that team today, for ST Racing today, Ryan.
Well, they're on that two-stop strategy as well, and I thought that yellow was going to be good for them. I can only surmise that they either didn't take tires the first time and therefore had to under the full course yellow, or took tires a second time, or had some kind of a slow pit stop, because they should have been roughly where Robbie Foley is now. They were on the same sequence. They pitted really close to one another. They were in fact one spot away from one another when that yellow happened, and had both done their first pit stop already and were still on the lead lap. So that's when I'm not entirely sure I can fully explain. Bill's picked up a couple of spots here on this stint, but this might have been a bit of a missed opportunity for that team, unless there's something I'm missing, which is always a possibility.
Drama in the top 6. Billy Johnson has a mechanical black flag. Also, a couple of cars going behind the wall. Owen Trinkless number 91 Porsche went behind the wall, the VRC Motorsport machine. That was a little while ago. We've also had Daniel Hanley's Rockwell Autosport Hyundai go behind the wall. That's the number 15. And another official retirement, by the way, Paul Holton, which the Team TGM car stopped early on. And that car had gone behind the wall. That is, I think that's now our second official retirement. So Billy Johnson, not sure what's the matter with that car, but has been given the meatball flag, the black flag with the orange disc in it. And so he will have to come to pit lane. Now, he does not get 4 times passed. Mechanical black flag means come to the pit lane at the next available opportunity, i.e. next time around. So if that doesn't happen, there will be further sanction, and that could be a full disqualification, which they don't need in that car. Leaders coming, Luke Lamars is leading the race, coming up to turn 3 at the moment. His team mate just crossing the line. That's in 6th place, Robbie Foley. There's something that I see. The Billy Johnson car has smoke coming out of the the right-hand bank of cylinders, the right-hand exhaust pipe. So that will be getting onto the track. Well, he's gone by at least once now. I can only imagine that there's some chat going on with race control, but they will not want anything on the surface of the track. Still to come this Super Saturday, we have the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship qualifying. 3 15-minute sessions. We'll have that for you free in sound and vision pictures, whether you're here in the US or further afield, via the player at IMSARadio.com or the IMSA YouTube channel. No subscription required for that, as usual. Right, Michelin moment of the race, gentlemen. I'm still, my GS moment of the race is the single solitary, beautifully executed pit stop for Turner Motorsport that got them in the lead ahead of Michelin Racing by about the second or so that they are still in the lead. Ryan Marine, have you spotted anything else? I mean, Ibiza Farm have come up through the field. I'm not sure there's a single moment there, but that's been a good drive by both of their drivers. The 44 car now sitting in third. Michelin moment of the race for GS, your thoughts?
I can't argue with you. I think that's exactly right. And I think we got some really good insight as well from Dylan McIvern with Arjuna, who pointed out that it all started in that first stint when he was doing some fuel save, which then put extra pressure on the pit crew to do the tire change in an even faster amount of time, so that it's still the fuel that was the determining factor in how long the stop went. And they nailed it. That got them the track position. It jumped them to the lead. If you're looking for a defining moment of the race in GS to this point, I don't think you can look any further than that.
Let's talk about the TCR point standings before we go. Michelin moment of the race there. The leading car, the multicoloured Hyundai. Ryan Morris and Bryson Morris rather, and Ryan Filippi, 950 points, 150 points back. Maddie Oust, Mark Wilkins, still not sure why they stayed out and didn't come in. They've dropped down a little bit. Oh, here's Billy Johnson coming into the pit lane, and lots of smoke coming off that car as they come in. TCR moment of the race, of something that's caught your eye?
I'll be honest, I have no idea. I've been thinking about it for about 10 minutes and I haven't come up with anything. Maybe Arjuna's got something for us, but I'll do a little thinking still.
Arjuna, TCR moment of the race, and then you can give us your GS moment of the race. We've still got a quarter of an hour to run, so it might change, but where's your thinking in the moment?
Well, before I get to that, I'll just let you know I'm stood in front of the Core Motorsports number 59. It was required to come down to the lane, and there is lots of smoke billowing from it, and that is frustration to end this race off for them, I think. In terms of moment of the race, I'll start with GS just to make my life easy, because again, I can't argue. I think the Turner Motorsports pit stop, without a shadow of a doubt, is what has put them in control of this race, and so I agree with you, I agree with Ryan. In terms of TCR, maybe you wonder about some of those initial restarts, because Mason Filippi did a great job, a little bit of damage on that right front of the car, but controlling the field behind him, and as a couple of them have fallen away with punctures and whatnot, even with the damage on the right front, the 33 Brian Herta Hyundai TCR machine still looking very strong in control at the front of the field.
I think that is transmission or diff fluid that is leaking or has been leaking onto one of the exhausts at the back of that core car. I thought originally it was engine smoke coming from the right-hand bank, but now I think that's something that is coming down the underside of the car and getting onto the exhausts and causing that, and that is why IMSA-Tech wanted to see that car in the pit lane, and the IMSA official wasn't happy and has had the car put back up on the hydraulic jacks. At the front of TCR, there is some smoke coming from the leader. Oh my goodness, Bryson Morris leading the championship by 150 points as it stands. Goes across the line, centre exhaust and that Hyundai Elantra in the multicoloured handprint design. Now, is it particularly on acceleration? Yes, it is. And certainly out of the slower corners. So that's something that we're going to have to look at. Hyundai's Hope on Wheels initiative. Cash for charities for every lap that is completed. And right now, the championship lead tantalisingly being dangled ahead of these guys. But is it all coming to naught? A 150-point lead could disappear very quickly indeed. The chirruping, the whistling of the wastegate on the 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that all of the TCRs have in common. Different engine manufacturers, different manufacturers of the chassis, but the same configuration, front-wheel drive, transversely mounted engine. Hyundai are going to be debuting a special car at the Nürburgring 24 Hours in a couple of weeks' time, with a prototype version of a new production engine that'll run in, I think it's SP3T, when I was looking at the merely 161 entries. It's the successor to the engine, the global engine on which the rally car and the rally car's 1.6, of course, the 2-litre for TCR. Hyundai using the Nürburgring Nordschleife ADAC 24 Hours as a test bed for a couple of cars. Really interested to see them doing that. A long chat with management, and I'm looking forward to getting over there. Grand Sport GS at the moment, the leaders, Dylan McIvern and Luca Mars, leading it by 60 points from Dan Arrow and excuse me, yes, the 95 car. Sorry, confusing myself there. So I looked up and saw the second place car on the screen. So Dylan McIvern, Luca Mars leading by 60 points to the Winward car, currently in 6th position. Dan Arrow right up behind Robbie Foley now. He might grab a few extra points there. It's the second place car, the pole sitter, 130 points back, and the third place car in this race, 150 points back. That is as it stands at the moment, and that is not a lot of points gap. Ryan Marine, 9 minutes and 40 to go, and Dan Arrow is driving an absolute storming race. Right up now with Robbie Foley.
Right on target, if you'll pardon the pun. He's been fantastic in this stint. Remember, that car was facing the wrong way in the opening hour of the race. There was a car with a puncture while Bryce Ward was driving. Everybody had to check up coming down the hill at the bottom of the corkscrew, and Bryce got the worst of it, got spun around. They were well down the order, but Bryce did a good job to fight back, and then Dan in his stint has been excellent. Unfortunately, haven't seen a lot of this drive, but has ended up there in the 6th spot and could yet pick up another spot or two. He's been harrying Robbie Foley for the better part of 15 minutes, and he still has nearly 9 minutes to try and unlock that door.
Well, I'm afraid that Billy Johnson's core motorsport car came into the pit lane for the mechanical black flag. It's gone behind the wall, as has Pegram Racing's Honda Civic. Watching some clips from earlier on that have made it onto the socials, and Alan Prosser, as ever, making sure that he got it done. Arjuna, if you could possibly get yourself down to the MMR pit, please, because at, I think, their last pit stop, one of their tyre changes turned his ankle really badly as he was carrying the right front tyre. Still managed to get to the airline and drop the number 93 car down. And first of all, I want to know his name. Secondly, actually, first of all, I want to know he's all right. Secondly, I want to know his name, because I might just be putting that in as the Michelin moment of the race. Carrying a Michelin wheel, a Michelin tyre and wheel, turns his ankle, barely misses a stop, limps to the back of the car, and still pulls the airline so that the car wasn't delayed, and that car's running third right now. So I am just going to throw that in as a possible TCR Michelin moment of the race. Now, at the front of the field, it's Turner Motorsport now by nearly 2 seconds. So has Luca Mars, Ryan, been given the go-ahead to say, you've got 7 minutes. That is, what's that, probably 5 laps, and your fuel numbers look good. Get your foot down, son, and see what you can do. Dan Arrow still trying to get to Robbie Foley. He's got his own problems now, though. Auto Technica and Stephen McAleer is right there. So that's 5th, 6th and 7th heading up the hill to the corkscrew now. And that's been disputed as well, Ryan.
Yeah, we do have a lot of fights going on all throughout this field, but Mars is starting to check out a little bit now at the front over Noacre. Cooper still is right there with Noacre in the fight for 2nd and 3rd. That's not done yet, but I agree with your supposition that Luca Mars must have been told, all right, you're okay on fuel, and now you can start trying to build that advantage.
6 minutes to go. That's 4 laps or thereabouts for the leaders. It'll depend when they come across the line. In the words of the song, in terms of your tyre life or anything, if you've got any tyre life now, smoke them if you got them. Because there's no sense in holding it back. So, Luke Mars has hit the go button, he's pulled the pin. He's starting to pull away. His teammate Robbie Foley is answering that challenge from Dan Arrow, and he's starting to pull away as well. So Turner Motorsport, once again, the arithmetic on the fuel has been absolutely outstanding. Could be a big taco weekend for Will Turner's team. If you don't know the story, it's a taco meal for the team. Oh, leader coming through. TCR traffic coming onto the front straight now. Goes past one of the Baker Racing TCRs. That's the 52 that he's gone by. They're running line astern at the moment. James Vance in the 52 in 10th at TCR. Kenny Reedman in the 56. And the Turner BMW at the lead of Luca Mars has gone. But my goodness, it's tight for 2nd. And this has championship implications for a few points here, a few points there. Where's the CSM Porsche? That's got to be in there as well. Yes, Morgan Burkhardt is right there with a GR Supra in between him and a spot on the podium. So the blue and black number 13 MMR Mustang, the red and white Ibiza Farms McLaren, and then the Porsche, the number 2 of Morgan Burkhardt. It's been a good rise, a meteoric rise through the ranks, but really could do with the lapped Toyota getting out the way there, Ryan.
Yeah, that would help his cause for sure. We know there's a lot of pace in that Toyota, some frustrated drivers assigned to that car as well. And now some TCR traffic. Michael Cooper got balked a little bit by that TCR. Here comes the 12, a couple laps down, but that could certainly hurt Michael's cause of trying to catch 2nd place, and Michael has to duck into the pits. I was just going to point out that on the last lap, Greg Leofouge from 9th place had to pit. I was told it was for a splash, so we are really close. We're really on the edge, and it's not a guarantee these front runners can make it the rest of the way.
Oh my goodness me. Well, I think Turner can, because I think that's why Luca Mars has been given the go, and this is huge for Ibiza Farm Motorsport, a team riding high, the fuel alarms going off up and down. There's 2 laps to go here. Do you risk it or do you pit? They might get some spots back here. That pushes the CSM Porsche to 3rd, Robbie Foley and Turner Motorsport to 5th, Winward Racing to 5th rather, to Robbie Foley to 4th. That's huge, but I think Dan Arrow is soft pedaling a little bit as well now. And Stephen McAleer might have a chance of making up a position. Hannah Grisham and Heart of Racing's Aston is 7th. I think Bill Oberlin has gone through in 8th position. bottom end of the top 10 is going to be pretty tight. And we are hearing that Celso Neto from second position in TCR's run out of fuel. Run out of fuel going up the top of, towards the top of the corkscrews, pulled off to driver's left. It's happening. White flag for the leader. And Neto dropping down. But this happened when he was in second position. One more lap. The Turner BMW will, I think this is going to be an odd one here, because our Michelin moments of the race are both for pit stops. Damage to the left rear of the Turner car, but I think that's going to be okay. They are trailing a little bit of the diffuser. GS will go to Turner, the Turner Motorsport team, for the single pit stop that put them out ahead and given them the lead that they have not relinquished, as long as he can get up the hill. And in TCR, it's going to go to the team member of the MMG Honda who turned his ankle, so they'll get that, and they still completed. And there's been a change for second. There's been a change for second. The Porsche of CSM is up to second, and that can only because Robert Noacker has had to slow. This is not over yet. Dan Arrow up to fourth place for Winward Racing. Robert Foley to fifth. Stephen McAleer. Oh my goodness, this is all kicking off. Medusa Motorsports come into the pits. Turner have done the sums right. Michelin moment of the race for the pit stop, the right amount of fuel, the right drivers in the car at the right time, and they win the Laguna Seca 120. From CSM in second position, what a perfect race for them. And just hanging on to third place, Robert Noacker by about a second from Winward. That car facing the wrong direction early on. Dan Arrow and the team have done a great job to get back that, and that is huge for the championship because they are scoring well in the championship, and both, well, they're just behind the 13 team, but the Ibiza Farms car has dropped down to the bottom end of the top 10. Let's have a BDO moment. And down with Arjuna as we wait for the TCR winner to come round.
Dylan McIvern, a big smile on his face as Turner Motorsports come out on top here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. You did your math right. It was that pit stop and the fuel saving in the first stint that got you to the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all started, you know, this morning in our meeting. We had a plan and the team executed amazing. You know, we really got it done in the pit, so hats off to these guys. They're the best crew in the business. Turner Motorsports BMW always puts on the show. Yeah, you're right. The math was definitely right. We got the fuel use alarm, headed to the corkscrew on the last lap, so these guys timed everything perfectly. Luca did an amazing job. It's so hard to be in the lead like that with everybody breathing down your neck and still, you know, focusing on the plan, right? It's more than just going fast. You have to make sure you're conserving the car, tires, and fuel. So hats off to everybody.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Confirmation of the TCR victory for Brian Herder Autosport and their number 33 car. But what about this for a podium? BMW, Porsche, Ford, Mercedes just off the podium. Big result for Winward Racing. That's a huge point scored day for them when they thought it could have been a nightmare. Let's have a word with Bryson Morris's teammate Mason Filippi from the number 33 Hyundai team.
Ups and downs of the weekend, but Mason Filippi wins in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. A little bit of damage, but you and your teammate nursed it to the end.
Definitely. I mean, our Hyundai Elantra and TCR car was amazing. And for Hyundai Hope on Wheels, if we win, they donate $10,000 to child cancer research. So it's pretty awesome. We led a lot of laps today, so every single one of those was $100 as well. I mean, our Hyundai was on rails this week. Bryson did a killer job. Chris with the strategy. Our entire crew, they were incredible.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's going to be second for the Brian Herder Autosport Hyundai and third for MMG. Let's take a look at the unofficial results, and as it stands then, subject to post-race technical inspection, Turner, BMW, win from Porsche and CSM. What a race from those guys. Just absolutely executed perfectly. Macumbi Makalia Racing from pole position might be a bit disappointed with third, but they've got good points, and some of their championship rivals have not. Winward have. Dowsing have come back from them in fourth. Turner and Auto Technica fifth and sixth for BMW. Harter Racing, the best Aston Martin, in seventh. A fourth BMW in the top 10 for ST Racing by Random Vandals. Bill Auberland didn't look like he was charging through the field, but a solid top 10 finish for him and Samantha Tam. Ibiza Farms Motorsport 1 lap out on their calculations, and Pan Am Motorsport make up the top 10. The balance of the GS field going down to the top 20, and there'll be some stories there. Absolutely, there'll be some stories there. And what about TCR? Brian Herder Autosport with Curb Agajanian, the number 33 car, championship leaders, winning from their team car in second, the 76 team, and the MMG Honda, LP Montour and Carl Whitmer, they get the Michelin moment of the race for their pit lane antics, with one of their crew turning his ankle but still managing to carry the wheel and tyre and put the car back on the ground, and that made sure that they were on the podium. In GS, it's also pit work that's won the Michelin moment of the race. Turner Motorsport, once down the pit lane, one chance to get it right. Did they do it? Yes, they did. They took the lead and were not headed. All kinds of stories down through the field. The Baker Racing cars coming in 34th and 35th in team order almost, and then the people at the back of the field, cars upside down, back behind the wall. It had it all. I reckon that we had 11 cars that went behind the wall or didn't finish the race, and one that didn't start was the CSM, the other CSM car. And even on the slowing down lap, the third place car has had to take, well, it's Mustang being towed by Ford Raptor, so at least it's not too bad in terms of the family. Oh my goodness, mate. That is so close, Ryan. That was a second away from Dan Arrow, and that was probably half a lap away from them dropping off the podium.
Yeah, it was really tight, the margins. I mean, we talked about it at the time that the yellow came right on the fringe of GS fuel mileage and their window to make it to the end. And obviously it wasn't quite in the window for some. There were a few that bailed on it or ran out late in the going, but most were able to stretch it to the end. And again, credit to the teams that got it right. Turner most of all, but CSM, amazing result for them. That's a team that desperately needed a result like this. They've had pace at times, but no results to show for it. That changes here today. And you know what? I think Robert Noaker, this is probably the longest he's gone without a win in the last couple of years, as much winning as he did in Mustang Challenge. But to be on the podium here in Pilot Challenge, I'm sure he'll take it and smile about it.
We've done a bit of arithmetic, and as it stands now, that win for Turner Motorsport puts them 30 points, a scant 30 points ahead of Dan Arrow and Bryce Ward for Winward Racing. And the 13 car now 150 back, and the Auto Technica Racing machine 160 back. That's the GS point standings. Let's get a BDO pit lane report with Will Turner.
Will Turner was the last winner for Turner Motorsports in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge for Turner Motorsports all the way back 20-something years ago in ST. But now 30 wins in GS. You've won once again here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. How special does that feel?
Super special. You know, we've been chasing that to have another win here, and it's been a long time. Again, I was just saying that when Don and I won here, I think there was horses pulling the carts. Yeah, so it's super special, especially because we've been here so much, and it's with the retro liveries on everything and the Turner yellow and blue. Couldn't be happier.
Last race for IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. What's your best memory you're going to take from this place?
Best memory, I think just all the years here of trying, and I mean, this is obviously a great one, but we have another race tomorrow, so maybe we can do the same thing tomorrow. But we're looking forward to going to Lime Rock too. So if we're not here, we're at Lime Rock. That's just that's great for us.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Well, brilliant stuff. We've talked about the GS points. Let's quickly take a look at the TCR points. It'll be Brian Herter, Autosport, and the Elantra number 33 that won. They will take a 110-point lead over their teammates that came second today. That's number 76 team. And in third, another Brian Herter Autosport car. That is the number 98 team. And I think it's the Victor Gonzalez Racing team. No, it is the 99. Yeah, the Victor Gonzalez Racing team, 150 points back. First non-BHA car in the TCR point standings. Congratulations to Turner Motorsport and to MMG for winning our Michelin moments of the race. Well done to our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna Kankapati. Ryan Marine, I'll give you the last words. A little bit untidy to start with, but my goodness, we nearly had even more carnage at the end, not necessarily of the fast variety, but of the running out of fuel variety.
Man, that did inject a little bit of excitement when Ligafouche pulled off with a couple laps to go. I thought, uh-oh, all of my assumptions about the way this race was going to play out strategically might have just gone up in the air if everyone was going to have to duck in for a splash of fuel. But with the exception of just a couple unlucky teams that did have to come back in, it seemed like just about everybody had their sums right and were able to make it to the end. Great execution from Turner today. Both cars in the top 5. The strategy on the two-stopper to get Foley and Barletta to 5th, I thought, was noteworthy as well. And then in TCR, a bunch of the front runners had difficult days. Girolami and Gonzalez finished 7th today. They came in 2nd in points. Godsacker and Bergstein were 8th today. They came in tied for 2nd in points, along with Austin Wilkins, only 6th today, but a chance to gain some ground for DuPont and Brown, jumping up to 2nd, leaving today.
Well, what a race for the WeatherTech 120, the WeatherTech Laguna Seca 120. Cars on their roofs, side-by-side action, tyre bundles going for a wander, and in the end, Turner Motorsport came through it all and won the GS, take the championship lead. And Brian Herter Autosport's 33 team lead TCR after their win. We'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.